Even when you think you know a band and their entire discography from front to back, you always still manage to find one or two little hidden treasures in there somewhere. I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan, and at the point of recording this video, it's been 23 years since I've been introduced to their music, and 17 since I've been an actual fan. My girlfriend at the time had gotten a copy of the CD with Teeth that had just come out, and she got a DVD copy of their live concert and All That Could Have Been. I got through the first listen through of each, and I was already hooked. I mean, it already sounded so much different from the rock and metal I was listening to at the time, and there was just something so much better about it. The industrial rock sound was definitely for me, so as anyone would in this situation, I started compiling their entire back catalog. So it's pretty easy for me to say, 17 years later, all the CDs, vinyls, posters, ticket stubs, t-shirts, all of that later, I'm pretty deep in. Once you're in, you start finding these little tiny tracks that just happen to slip under the radar. It could be songs in this case such as Purest Feeling, one of the original demo tracks, or Not So Pretty Now, Non-Entity, things that came later on in the discography. Maybe it's covers like Queen's Get Down, Make Love, and of course there's also Gary Numan's Metal. But in 2011, Nine Inch Nails would release a single that I can't imagine too many fans saw coming. Granted, it was sandwiched between the releases of Ghosts 1 through 4 and Hesitation Marks, so Trent Reznor was really at this point of just being fearless in experimentation and what he wanted to implement into his own music. But in 2011, we got a cover of U2's Zeus Station, and this was in celebration of the 20th anniversary of their release of the album Achtung Baby. Originally released in Q Magazine in 2011, and then as an album-only track exclusive to iTunes, it's very easy to see how this one managed to slip under the radar. But I love this track dearly, and that's exactly what I'm here to talk about today. The song is mostly driven by a very soft 808 style drum loop. It's very simple, very minimal, not exactly pulse pounding to get things going, but you're in for something at least a little more gentle, I guess, considering the catalog. There's a droning guitar layer that's consistent underneath everything. It does get harmonized as the song progresses, and it's a really nice touch. I think it's excellent. The addition of a simple synth bass really kind of makes you wonder what you're in for, because so far this doesn't really sound like your basic Nine Inch Nails track. Eventually, this thick fog of ambient guitars just droning through makes it all the more atmospheric, and then you have Trent Reznor's vocals, which for the most part remain in a softer, lower register. It gives off a very passionate and calming aura. Also, there's something very weird about hearing him say the lines, "I'm ready to say I'm glad to be alive." And that does sound strange if you know the context given years earlier, the Downward Spiral and the Fragile. It's just nice to hear. The second verse feels very empowering in a very odd way. The pickups and vocals emanates these feelings of hopefulness and encouragement. This is backed up by the idea that the lyrics seem to be about, being prepared for changes in a potentially brighter world as time passes. And yes, I'm pretty sure the falling of the Berlin Wall had something to do with this, the time frame that the song was actually written by U2, and they were in Berlin at the time, so yeah, that just feels very fitting. The layering of sound and harmony has moments where it just feels so warm and lush. It's also very hypnotic and peaceful. It all has this very serene sense of just floating in the air, or maybe even floating on water. The last couple minutes of this track continues driving all of these emotions, while also getting slightly noisier, and in that sense it actually makes it a little more unsettling as it goes. More layers are added one by one to the point where the soundscape becomes very immense and really all-encompassing. The last couple of minutes of this track are the most Nine Inch Nails sounding portion of the song, so I guess giving it that kind of air of familiarity really worked well in its favor. Even if it did change the mood slightly, it still fits and feels like the next logical step for the song to take. The layers start to break down towards the end, which starts to really feel satisfying as you slowly hear everything fade away. The song is beautiful, peaceful, and soothing, it really is, but it still manages to hold on to these feelings of, haunting, unsettling, and even ominous. It's all kind of mixed together very well in this track to where none of it feels overwhelming and it all feels like it's properly used. Nine Inch Nails is known for doing song covers and more or less being able to make the songs their own. There is no awareness of the original in there, but it's given new life and perspective, which can actually make the song better. So for the cover of U2's Zeus Station, I believe this is definitely the case. And that's why I love this song.